Good morning. Yeah, it's me, Dougie Stone. Coming live today from a bookstore in Kenilworth. Hey, bonkers, isn't it? And as always, you're listening to... Oh, yeah. Going to be here for the next 2 hours. So I've got a little bit of a playlist. I'm trying to get the playlist as much as possible to be related to books. So if you've got any book-related songs, fire them away because I'm running out of them. I've got about 5 at the minute, so keep them coming. On Facebook or just search Kurt Pickstone or Dougie Stone, drop me a line there, or at Dougie Stone on Twitter. Or if you know me on Facebook, just leave me something there. So what today's about is I've got I've got a meeting, or I was going to do an interview with someone about the books. And anyway, I'm just replying to someone because someone's just asking me where I am and what I'm doing, so I'll just send that back. Anyway, yes. So there's a couple of new books come out just recently by an author from London, and she's up in Kenilworth today. I forget her name now, but I'll remember it in a bit. And she's come to launch it in the Kenilworth bookstore. So I was asked to come along and do an interview because obviously I do my show around dyslexia and things like that. So I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. Instead of just doing an interview, why not come, set my gear up, and we'll do a live show from the bookstore, 10 till 12. So if there might be some young peeps about, and if there is, and you're listening around Kenilworth, come along. Oh, Cockerel's awake.
Hi everyone, it's Lily.
And Wormy here with some great news for everyone in the Burdekin.
The Come and Get It chicken van is operating now in the Burdekin, serving mouth-watering pressure-fried chicken and delicious fish and chips.
You can find the Come and Get It chicken van Thursdays 6pm till 8, Fridays and Saturdays 6pm till 3am on Queen Street between the old Queen Street Interiors and Target.
Also on Saturdays and Sundays at Plantation Park, air from 10am to 4pm. For more information, check out the Come and Get It Facebook page.
So give your taste buds a flavour favour.
And drop in and see Steve and his team at the one and only Come and Get It chicken.
If you just joined us, I'm in Kenilworth Bookstore in Warwickshire, in Kenilworth. And I'm here today because an author's just released a book which uses a new dyslexia-friendly font. Try saying that after a few beers. So what I'm doing today, I've pitched up here. I've got on my gear, and if you see me Facebook Live, just comment on there. So what I'm doing, I'll be speaking to the store owner in a bit. Store, very American, that, isn't it? The store owner. Because this is an international show, you see. Not really, I can't say shop. Shoppy with double 2 P's and 15 E's. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try wherever possible to have book-related themed songs. So if you know any, hook up with me. Just go onto Twitter at Dougie Stone and put on, I don't know, what should we do? What should we do? Hashtag today. Hashtag books and then the song. Hey, that could be a good one, couldn't it? And hashtag, obviously, Dougie Stone Show, or Dougie Stone, because I'm a narcissist, according to my brother. I love the sound of my own voice and the sound of my own name. But there you go. Me and Donald Trump have got a lot in common. Right, so let's get on with this show. So that's where I'm at. I'm in Kenilworth. I'm in the bookstore, and we're going to interview a couple of people soon. Hopefully there'll be some tiddly peeps in, and we can get them on the show. So anyway, let's get on with another track. So we've gone from... At Garfunkel, Bright Eyes, and that still fills me with dread because, like I said at the start, when we was in senior school, we used to have to read books out loud in class. That was part of the English lessons, and I detested it, and I didn't know at the time I was dyslexic. It used to make me feel, on edge, sick, for want of a better word. So, I'm going to seek the book out and either burn it or put it in a frame, one of the two. I don't know which one it's going to be. What's it? Oh, here we go. It's me again. Yeah, it's me again. So it's I'm just searching for some other songs to play. So if you know them, let us know. Just drop me a line and I'll try and find it for you and play it. If you want a request show, So just referring back to What Ship Down, my good friend Rob Black over in Australia saying. He's in the ship. He's seen the book, film All Ship Down, and now he's eating the cast in plum sauce. I'll tell you what, it's nice rabbit in plum. I had it in Holland the other year for Christmas Day. They don't have turkey, they have rabbit, but they they put about 4 bottles of port in it and some other wonderful things. Throw the rabbit away and just drink the sauce. I'll tell you what, it's wonderful stuff. Really, really nice. And that's their Christmas dinner, is a bit of rabbit. Well, there, a bit of trivia for you. What do they have for Christmas dinner, if you hear that? So if you hear people in the background, don't panic. I'm in a book shop. You're playing. I can hear you playing the station. Anyway, people, I've just turned that music off. I've got Rob on from Robbo's on from Australia. Can you hear me, Rob? Oh, can't hear him. Say something, mate. Oh, there you go. Turn that music off. Can you turn Rob? You're coming back through. Can you turn the station off on your mixer or something? Because it's just coming back.
Oh, hang on, mate. Yeah, sorry, mate. There we go. How's that?
That's perfect.
That's better. Sorry, mate.
I was trying to signal you while the song was on, but you wasn't getting it because you was engrossed with my coffee that's just arrived. You know,
I was engrossed with your bloody coffee. Where the hell's mine, mate?
I know it's just turned up. Costa Coffee just turned up. I'm in the bookstore. So for the listeners out there, I'm talking.
In a bookstore, and they serve coffee.
No, they don't. They've gone next door.
In a bookstore.
They've gone next door for the coffee from Costa Coffee or somewhere else. Right. So the listeners that are out there, I'm talking to my mate Robbo over in Queensland. So how's it going with you today, mate?
Yeah, surviving. It's nearly 7:20 at night. Yeah, had fun and games with the station this morning, but well, you get that, don't you? Yes, fun and games, but yes, recovered from it quite easily. So yes, I'm glad it is, and yes, I just happened across your little broadcast from a bookstore. Now, what's in the background there?
in the background, there's some books in the background.
Oh, the super dyslexic hero, but
yeah, mate, it's like torture. I'm in a bookstore. It's like all these words.
I can't really see it too well.
What's that? What you have to make?
To your right.
Yeah.
No, to your right. It's to your right. Right, the other right. Yeah. No, your other right. Yeah, sorry. Hang on, you're reverse. Your left.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Middle shelf.
Middle shelf, yeah.
Yeah, no, over a bit more. No, towards the front. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. Next. Right. About in the middle there. Is that a book on Australia?
No,
in the middle. It's a thick book.
This one.
Yeah. Or is that Antarctica?
Andalusia somewhere. I've no idea. Yeah.
I thought I couldn't say it.
No, you're right, mate. Australia.
Sorry.
That's Austria. That's the dyslexic. That's the dyslexic spelling. Yeah. Of Australia. Yeah. So then there's an Australia, mate.
Well, while you're there, mate, you should get a book on Australia.
I'll find a book on Australia, mate, and I'll purchase it. I will have a look for that. I'm sure I'll find one in here because that's what they do. They do books.
Yeah, I'm sure all the staff there at the bookshop would be happy to help you because you and Eddie are coming over very shortly, whether you like it or not. With or without your wives, and you can experience firsthand the flora and fauna of North Queensland, especially.
Yes. Yeah, I will do, mate. I think it's really good. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting day. And you've started doing a breakfast show, which has been brilliant and really good for the station. And, waking everybody up at 6 o'clock in the morning has been really good. So
yeah, which is even better for me because it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So, I'm already awake, so all I have to do is wake you lot up, which is I enjoy doing that. It's every Australian's birthright to sledge a palm and wake a palm up. Yeah.
And
enjoy every minute of it, mate.
And I enjoyed this. We enjoyed this morning's broadcast because you was talking about it going to go slightly damp. In other words, it's going to rain. So yeah, slightly damp and rain. It's the same thing. Isn't it?
I mean, hang on. If it stops raining, doesn't it dry out?
Yeah, exactly. It gets drier when it dries out.
I can't stop having the coffee. But what's that? That's a small, isn't it? That's not even a big one.
That's a regular.
That's small.
Yeah, that's what they all say. But that's a regular one. A regular one. And I've got I've got Little Peeps coming up. They might want to come on the radio in a minute. So, right. What we're going to do, Rob? I'm going to cut you off in a second, mate, because I've got some Little Peeps here that are that probably want to go on the radio in a minute. So I'll have to introduce something. So
little peeps, as in little people.
Little people, yeah, little people. You call them something else over there, won't you? Tiddlers, what do you call them over there? You have a name for them, don't you?
No, we call them rugrats.
Rugrats, yeah. These are bigger than rugrats. Slightly bigger than rugrats.
Rugrats, nippers, things like that.
So yeah, I'm gonna play a song. I'm gonna put a song on now, and I've got a special. I've got a world exclusive I'm playing in a minute by a country singer in the south. So I'm going to play that shortly, and this is the song that I'm going to play has actually been written by his manager as well, his promoter. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that in a moment. Danny McMahon, I think is how you say his name, and this is called Hideaway. I'm going to play that shortly, but I'm going to play something else. I'm going to talk to these little chaps here, and I'm going to get them on the radio in a minute. Yep. All right.
Well, before you cut me off, and all that, g'day, little rugrats. This is Australia, North Queensland, talking to you now. If they can hear me, I don't know if they can hear me.
I'm not beaming out, mate. I'm not beaming out to the shop unless they put it on themselves. I'm not. No, I'm not.
Yes. Book shopping. Shh. Very, very quiet.
It's not a library.
I'm hunting rabbits. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, like a library.
Do you want to introduce this?
All right.
Do you want to introduce this next song? It's Boy's Own Words. Do you want to introduce that, dude?
It's by what? Sorry.
Boy's Own, mate. Bit of Boy's Own.
Boy's Own.
Yeah.
Oh. What? Hang on. Boy's Own. What's the song called?
Words. As I keep saying, repeating myself over and over again, I've got a young peep here, and he's just hang on. I want to give him some headphones so he can hear what he's saying. So, the idea of this outside broadcast is to obviously talk to the author today, and there's little peeps because it's half term, and that's why I come along. So I'm trying to get people interested in radio, and I've got a little guy here called Ruben. Just put it on one ear like that. Just put it on one ear. Can you put it on here? Yeah. So I'll put it on both ears. Can you hear? Can you hear that? Can you hear what we're saying? Yeah, cool. Right, so I've just collared him and I said, hey, get over here. Give us a song. So, Ruben, over to you, mate. Introduce yourself and like we just practiced and tell everyone what the song is. Go for it.
This is Ruben.
And the song
This is Shake It Off.
Wonderful. How cool was that? How cool was that? He did a really good job, and he's gone now. He listened to his song for a bit and then disappeared. So that was great. But what I like about that, this is what I like to do. I'm a motivator and like to inspire people. And he was dead shy and talking really quiet. And I went, come on, give it gusto, go for it. Right. So I've got a world exclusive here. I've got a song by Danny McMahon, who is a country singer down in the south of England, and I've been talking to his manager his promoter for some time, Daniel Evans. Really great guy, and we've been batting off each other for a while. Going to be doing an interview shortly, which I'll talk about later on, and not today, but later on. You know what I mean? In a few weeks at all time. And his EP's just been released now. And I played a track last night on my country show, but this one was written by Daniel, and for me, on the EP, I think this is the best song by far. I think the lyrics are brilliant. Anyway, I'm going to play it for you now. Hopefully, it'll play because I've got it on Dropbox. So this is called Hideaway. So well done to Danny's, obviously, for writing it and for Danny for singing it, because I think this is a cracking song. You can hear a lot more of this on my shows because that's what I'm doing. I'm promoting local and international bands that are not being played on the mainstream stuff. So here we go. Have a listen to this. I think it's a cracker. Right, people. Don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, you can hear me. Right, that song has been that's a world exclusive. I managed to bag that from Danny. So brilliant song. So Daniel Evans has written that, and is that how you say McMahon? Is that how you say McMahon? Is that his...
I say McMahon.
McMahon. Right.
Annie McMahon.
It's Danny McMahon. Danny McMahon, that's his name. So if you go on, please go on to the Facebook page /Danny McMahon UK. I think it's that, or Danny Conway. Or search out Daniel Evans on Facebook, or go on to, I think it's on Bandcamp. If you go on to Bandcamp and look for Danny, you'll find that song, his EP's released. His EP's released next week. That song is obviously not being played anywhere else. It's not an EP yet, but his title track has been released. So go and check him out, and I'll give you some more information. Radio is dead. No, wasn't. Oh yeah, okay. I'm just reading something. Right. Yeah. No, Rob, radio is live and kicking. So I'm in a bookstore. Don't call it a bookshop. I don't anyway, because it's a bit American, isn't it? So I've got. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello, I'm Tamsin, and Kirk is here because he was telling me that he didn't like bookshops, that he avoided them because he's dyslexic.
Yep.
So I decided to challenge him a bit and take him out of his comfort zone. And here he is. He's actually broadcasting from a bookshop in the middle of Warwickshire.
Yeah.
So the bookshop's been here for 50 years.
Wow.
And I've been here for 10 of those.
Right, okay.
And we have a lot of readers who are dyslexic or who struggle to read for other reasons. I myself was told when I was about 13 that I was cross-lateral, which I think is a form of dyslexia. I think it's the thing about dyslexia. It doesn't just mean that you can't read. There are lots of different reasons for that.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very left-handed. And if you walk past the bookshop windows, you'll realise that there's writing on the bookshop windows. Now, I've written that backwards from the inside. That's how left-handed I am.
That's cool.
So I struggle to read because actually it's not really natural for very left-handed people to read from left to right. Normally your eyes would go from right to left across a page. Yeah. If you're left-handed, it's kind of reverse. So I really struggled to read, and
unless you're Arabic.
Yes, that's but it is indeed in Japan as well. If you think about manga stories, that you read those backwards, or to our eye, you read them backwards and from right to left.
Yeah.
And I think it's a generational thing partly that my son, who's 12 now, he's completely used to manga. It didn't floor him at all. But I know a lot of adults who are like, I have no idea how to read this. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I think there is a generational thing in there. But the other thing is that, when I was a kid, so I don't tell you how old I am, but, this was in the 80s, and I was just the difficult kid who couldn't read and stumbled their way through English class. And big raspberry to my teachers at Southampton, because here I am having worked in a bookshop for 10 years.
Yeah.
So I did struggle my way through it. And I think what it affected was not the fact that I do read, but what I read. So I do struggle with long passages of description, just annoy the hell out of me, if I'm really honest. So, Jane Austen, really not for me, sorry.
Got it.
Can handle a little bit of Dickens, but, I'm happy with a ghost story or two, but I really, would I read a whole thick novel? I probably wouldn't, but I love my non-fiction, and I think often, because it's structured differently, if you're interested in, history or science, and a lot of kids are really interested, they're not only interested in stories. Yeah. We've got a lot of non-fiction here, and it's written differently. It's in little chunks. Yeah. You often get little facts with images, and it's still reading. What's the problem? It's still reading, and actually those kids often fare better academically because they know how a non-fiction book works. They know they can just dip in, enjoy a bit of it, find out a few facts that they're really interested in about dinosaurs or nature, and then it's still reading, and then they can apply that at school. And if they then move on to want to, read stories that are relevant to those times, or if they're interested in history, or stories that are relevant to the subject of science or biography. Yeah. I think we make the mistake in our education system of thinking that fiction books, great storytellers are the be-all and end-all of being able to read, and that's really not the case. Yeah, correct. And there's a few things you've said there, because I discovered I was dyslexic at 44, and I quit my job and went to university, because I was dyslexic. That's what I wanted to do, and studied dyslexics predisposed entrepreneurs. And, a lot of dyslexics are left-handed. They're left-handed people. Obviously, the creative mind works differently. And what a lot of people, and that's why I do my shows, and I do my shows around that, and that's why it's interesting to be here today. The academic stuff, the reading and writing, is just an outcome of the dyslexic mind. That is not dyslexia as far as I'm concerned. Dyslexia is how your mind works. And picking up on the point about the books, I don't read. When I said I don't read, I can read, but I just don't see the point in reading a book on fiction when I can watch a film or a TV program.
because it's not an easy thing for me to do, and I get lost and I go, who was that character? Who was that character? I really get jumbled up with all the characters and everything. But if I watch a film or something, fine. But if you give me a book that's on a subject that I'm really interested, if it's maybe an autobiography about someone that I really like, I will not put that book down till I've read it. I'm almost walking around the house bumping into things, going, oh, my wife's going, what are you doing? Oh, I just can't put this book down. Or I read a lot of technical books or a lot of management books, depending what I'm working on, because the efforts are put in, I'm getting a reward. I think I'm getting a reward. So reading fiction, I'm not getting. Why am I getting a reward from that? Does that make sense?
It does make perfect sense, and that is exactly my experience as well. Is that I think, if you're that kid in the class who is actually struggling to read in the first place and finding it quite difficult to make your way through a sentence without forgetting, because you're so busy trying to read it that you've forgotten what was happening at the beginning of the sentence by the time you get to the end, is that actually you're not going to enjoy it.
No.
And there are various things that can easily be done to alter that. One is that actually some of the typefaces in some of the texts that we've got even in the bookshop here are awful, and I wouldn't hide that at all. And one of the worst offenders, I have to say, is sort of Penguin classics. People come in and they'll say, can I have The Origin of Species, Charles Darwin, and I'd like a Penguin classics, expecting they're going to get something quite nice. But the typeface is tiny, it's awful, it's cramped, the paper quality is just rubbish.
Yeah.
It's really, really poor quality book. It's really not a nice book to have. If you compare that even to something like Philip Pullman's Book of Dust that's just been released. Okay, we're still talking about fiction, but the font is larger, it's beautifully spaced, there's space at the edges. It is so much more pleasant to read, to actually enjoy as a book, as a story, because you're not trying to work out what line you're on halfway through.
Yeah.
In addition to that, there are a number of publishers who've really worked quite hard to support dyslexic readers of several types. There's a publisher called Barrington Stoke who publish a huge range of books from some really amazing writers. We've got writers like Mallory Blackman and Chris Priestley who are, these are great, young adult and, older kids writers.
Yeah.
There's no shame in reading, a Mallory Blackman story or a Chris Priestley book. So if you're in the playground and you're seen reading it, great, what the hell?
Yeah.
But they've printed slightly differently. So the typeface, the actual font is a little bit different. The spacing is a little bit different. It's printed on a paper that's very slightly, when you and I look at it, it looks very slightly yellowy.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that in a second.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Not everybody, but, it certainly helps a lot of
Yes.
dyslexic readers.
Yes.
There's a lady with us in the bookshop today, Becky Morton, who's illustrated a book called Muriel's Murals, which is difficult to say in the first place, isn't it? But that's printed in another new font called Lexie Mouse.
Right.
As Lexie Mouse Publishing, and when you look at it, it does look a little bit different. It looks like it's sort of weighted towards the bottom. So when you look at, it's sort of heavier at the bottom as a typeface. And we've had some amazing responses from that. I've given it to support teachers and to parents of kids, who are about the age that that I was, certainly when I was told I was dyslexic, about 12, 13, 14, that kind of age. When often it becomes a real problem at school. And it's a social problem as well, I think, for these kids who are, they can't join in and talk about all the things that everybody else is reading in the playground. And, that's great, is that we've got these books and these kids have come back to us and said, this is amazing, I can read this. I normally struggle, but this isn't a problem. And that's been wonderful to see that, you think that there are more and more things that publishers are doing that support all reading. But I think you're right, on the fiction front, I think in our country we have I think it's an overemphasis on fiction. Fiction is incredibly important. Stories are incredibly important to human beings and to our culture, and they always have been.
Yeah, and always will be.
Well, we tell each other stories, and even if you're seeing it on telly, it's still a story, isn't it?
We're actually telling, now today, we're telling stories in the radio show and what we're doing, aren't we?
Exactly. We're telling our own background stories, our own experiences, and, that's incredibly important to what it is to be a human being. Yeah. However, in terms of reading, there are a lot of kids and adults who prefer non-fiction. They're much happier with something that, whether they're interested in gardening or in nature. And there's some wonderful nature writing out there at the moment. There's some incredible historical research. Again, biography. We've got more and more biographies out, every year of all sorts, not just celebrities, but, all sorts of interesting people, historical biographies. There's all of this reading. And I just think that, perhaps as an education system, we ought to be talking about reading more broadly
Yeah.
than just whether or not, you've read your way through Jane Austen or...
Yeah, because my son's in his final year at school, and it's Christmas Carol. It's all I can't remember. Whoa.
Oh, we got a phone call coming in.
That's him now. I must be listening to me. It's my son. I did send him a message before. Yeah, and he's doing all they're doing all the classics in class, and they're doing that's what their exam's going to be based on, these classic stories. And he's like, I know it doesn't float his boat. I know he struggles with it, but he's still going to do it. So yeah, and I'm talking about it's interesting you're talking about the new typeface, which I'm really interested to talk to the illustrator and the author in a minute, because one of the issues we've got with text from a dyslexia point of view is, especially a lot of text is obviously on white paper. And our font is very elongated, very long. So what tends to happen with the dyslexics doesn't happen when people talk about stuff moving about on the page. It ends up, the white behind the black ends up like rivers of white. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's one reason why the eyes drift and they go, oh, what line am I on? So by having the different coloured paper, the yellowy paper, it takes that white glare away, and obviously. And that's interesting about the font being more weighted below, because it'll take that lines out and makes a definite, like a, you know what I mean? Almost like a bag of money that you put on the floor. I don't know, that's just coming to my head. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like that. Rather than a tall cylinder, you've got this blob. So maybe maybe that's easy. I'm looking forward to having a look at myself.
Yeah,
anyway.
it'd be really interesting to see what you make of it, because I think, and I think it's important to say that, there are lots of forms of dyslexia. There are lots of reasons that people struggle to read, and this will certainly help lots of people. I don't think it's not an exclusive sort of.
I think generally it'll help people. Yeah, it definitely will.
But I think as well, I've read my way through, a lot of the Barrington Stoke books as an adult now. I read quite a lot, but I've been reading them because I like the author's work and I want to read that book. And I think, as a reader who's, as an adult doesn't struggle to read particularly, I don't find it distracting to have that. And I think a lot of publishers are actually cottoning on to the fact that you can just do little things that make a book more accessible to everyone. There's a series that actually you probably ought to know about that for younger readers, which is Tom Gates. Liz Peaton wrote Tom Gates' books. And I've not really actually asked her in detail, but I've heard that she wrote it perhaps for a nephew who was struggling to read. And when you look at the page, it's full of illustration. It's written slightly differently, perhaps more in the style of a non-fiction book, and you've got little pockets of writing. Yeah. Not quite speech bubbles, but it's sort of divided up more, and you don't get those rivers and those sort of that you get in a printed, story in a chapter book. And that's been so popular with kids. It's totally mainstream now. Whether or not it was intended for dyslexic readers is completely irrelevant. Every kid in the playground's read their way through Tom Gates. My son's a huge fan. All of his mates are huge fans. And I think that's great, because it means that all kids can join in that. And many of those who struggle to read will be fine with a book like that. The other thing that I think is worth looking at is actually the way things are structured, because often a child who doesn't like or can't cope with the idea of what you and I would call a chapter book, but they would cope very, very well with something like mythology. And I loved mythology as a child. And there's a couple of reasons for that. What you dispense with in mythology, if you think about the Greek myths or the Norse legends, is these long passages of description. Events move quite fast. Yeah. You also have a sort of structure to it where the characters don't have fully rounded personalities with complicated emotions and things. They tend to have attributes more in the way that you might with something like Marvel comics.
Love it.
Do you know what I mean? So it's a very different style of creating fiction.
And I loved Greek mythology at school, and I loved history and the Roman and Greek mythology. I don't know why, but just really captivates me, and it's one thing that I really enjoyed. Yeah. I enjoyed. It's funny, isn't it?
It's funny, but I think you and I, our experiences are probably very similar of being at school. And I think actually, if you're the parent and you're worried about your child's education because of dyslexia, because they're struggling to read, to try something like mythology is really going to support their knowledge, because a child who knows their Norse mythology and their Greek mythology will understand all kinds of references in Shakespeare, when they come to do study later, that other kids will miss if they don't know their mythology. And so many of our great writers now are looking at Norse mythology and have got references to the Greek myths, even Bible stories, if we count that as mythology, which whether it depends on whether you're religious or not. But even these stories they're structured in the same way.
I'm not religious, but I do the stories in the Bible and the I'm not religious, but the whole ethos of Christianity, for want of a better word, I think makes sense.
Yeah, as a moral framework.
You shall not do that, and you shouldn't do that. It makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly. But
you shouldn't
actually,
nick off.
the stories themselves are really important because I'm not religious at all, but for to bring up a child to know their Bible stories means that they're going to get references in paintings, in other stories that you wouldn't get if you do. I think you miss out on a lot if you don't know the mythology and Bible stories. The other thing I'd like to say is that you and I both worked on radio. I've interviewed a lot of authors in my time, and I have never heard a novelist, even the most prominent novelists that we have, who I've spoken to. They've never said to me, do you know what? It was the national curriculum at school that really inspired me to be an author. I have never heard that. But the number of times I've heard an author say to me, it was the Marvel comics that I bought with my brother that really inspired that kind of cycle of storytelling, those great, colossal characters, those colourful images. That's what inspired me. And I've heard that from some of the the most prominent writers in our times now. So don't do down the idea of comics.
While you've been listening to that, we've gone off and got some books. Well, I've not.
It's not difficult in a bookshop.
Yeah. Is any books around we can talk about? Oh, yeah. There's a few.
There's a few thousand.
Well, I never went anywhere because I just sat here, just being all what's the name? Try to look lovely, which I don't. But that's what I'm trying to do. Anyway, what have you got for us to talk? Oh, look,
right.
This is
okay. So I'm going to start by talking about Barrington Stoke, which is the name of a publisher.
Yeah.
And they publish a whole range. Every month, more and more come out. So we've always got a fresh, collection of books.
Yeah,
from
Kenilworth Book
Stoke.
Shop in Kenilworth. Just come along.
Just pop along. We've got a Waitrose and a Castle, so we must be posh.
Oh, yeah.
And a bookshop, 2 bookshops in the town.
I thought I had to take my shoes off this morning when I went in Waitrose to go and get my bacon sandwich. I thought, do I have to take my shoes off when I go in? It's rather posh.
Rather posh.
It's not Aldi, is it?
So I picked out one off the shelf here. So I was talking about Mallory Blackman earlier, who was at one point our Children's Laureate. I think she was the 8th Children's Laureate.
Okay.
So has done a lot of work, supporting, children's right to have access to books, encouraging people to think about reading and giving children access to all sorts of books. And this one here is called Peacemaker.
Right.
So I think this is probably more of a young adult book. I don't think this is, it's certainly not for toddlers. So we're not talking about, pretty picture books for toddlers here.
Yeah.
We're talking about older readers. These are challenging subjects. This is a sci-fi story called Peacemaker about a girl who's basically trying to stop intergalactic war.
Yeah.
Mallory Blackman writes on really challenging issues. She's probably best known for the series that she wrote called Noughts and Crosses, of which there are many books, which really challenges our attitude in our country to, people who are, black or, Asian or, just other than, white middle class, English-looking people.
I get it.
And actually challenges the way that we think about our society. It challenges the way that, we taught everything from the way that we talk to people to our education system. And those are really, really good reads. So, this is a wonderful writer. And if we look at the book, you can see there are breaks between the paragraphs.
Yes.
We're on that yellowy coloured paper that you were talking about earlier. The typeface is clear and it's neat. And it's a fantastic piece of writing.
Do you know, this is bizarre because I'm sat here now, and I'm not just saying it because you're talking, I'm like, I'm really interested in books all of a sudden. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to take a picture of that because then if I put it on my Facebook and Twitter or whatever, people can see what we mean by the font, can't they? And it's weird that comes out quite white on the camera.
It's very definitely yellowy, though, isn't it? It's a kind of. It's not distractingly
but it looks
yellow.
yellow there, but
it's
on the
not
camera,
sort of sunflower yellow, but it's kind of cream. Let's call it cream.
Camera's normalising it to make it white, but I get that.
And there are lots of those. We've got a whole shelf of those, and we can, we get more in every month. This one here, this is the font here. You can see at the bottom there called Dyslexic Font.
Ah, okay.
The series, there's 2 books published so far called Muriel's Murals. It's just a really good, fun adventure. This is probably for slightly younger readers. I'd suggest this is kind of, 8+. So we've still got a really good, fun story. You're not stuck reading the basic, the kids, the sort of basic books that you get in reception year at school. But if you look at this font here, can you see what I mean by it being slightly weighted towards the bottom?
Yes,
Again,
it's really good for radio, this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
really
really
good
great.
for radio.
Yeah, images on the radio.
Brilliant,
brilliant.
this for
Yeah,
radio.
brilliantly chosen subject. Right, so we've got that yellowy colour paper again.
I'll tell you what, that is... Yeah, just to explain, I'm going to take a picture. For example, the capital letter in, what's that, Constable, it's like there's an extra little bit thicker on the bottom of the C, and it draws your eye, then spot on. I think this is really good.
I think this is amazing. And what's great about this Lexie font is that not only, with the font that we've just been looking at in Barrington Stoke is their own font that they've been using on their own paper. Now this one here, as well as being published in these books, you can actually download the font.
Ooh.
So schools can download it.
Right.
And they can use it in classes where there might be one or more children who are struggling to read.
Yep.
They can use it to send letters home. I mean, it's not difficult to read for someone who isn't dyslexic. So you could just use this font generally.
Oh, yeah. It was because the thing is, currently we've got a font, or we've got a language that caters for 80% of the population.
Yes.
Why not bring one out that caters for 100% of the population?
And I think I would say as well, with if you've got a kid who's dyslexic, or if you're as an adult you're dyslexic, do have a look through fonts, because I was chatting to a parent just on Facebook this morning when we were announcing that we were doing this here, and she said to me that her son, who's quite severely dyslexic, has looked through the fonts and found one that works for him or works better for him. And it might be that this works slightly better, this Dyslexie font works better for him. But even so, just have a look through, because you're not stuck using Arial 12 point whatever. There are lots of fonts to use.
Yeah, I'm looking at that going, I'd like to read something in that font. And I don't know how difficult it was. Because the thing is, you've got a lot of stuff online, haven't you, on the Kindles and things like that. So it's whether you can get the standard Kindle, because actually when I get a Kindle, I don't know why, but I look at it and think, that looks quite, for me, that looks quite, but this is another thing which is bizarre. I would rather physically read something that's on paper than from the screen, even though I can read off the screen. I think, but if I'm going to read something, I find reading from a screen not conducive to reading. But when it's written down in a book, so I'd rather have a physical book than a Kindle.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't mind reading an email, or a Facebook message, but the idea of reading a book on the screen, it isn't for me. I think there's absolutely a place for it, and my husband travels a lot, with his work, and no amount of organisation can possibly stop the book you've just started reading being in the wrong place. So he does use an e-reader quite a lot, and I think with e-readers, you can just enlarge the font slightly, for example.
Yes.
So if, I've got a number of friends who are, they're not exactly, visually impaired, but, their eyesight, and they would struggle with something like that tiny penguin font I was talking about earlier. Yeah. But if you can just enlarge it even a tiny bit, often it really helps.
See, that bit, what I was trying to get at is it should be quite straightforward for an author or someone who's bringing a book out to go, well, actually, here's my book, whatever it is, and put it on things like Kindle with that font.
Yeah, so, I mean, actually, if you want to have a look at this font, it's called Dyslexie Font, and there's a website written down here, which is DYSLEXIE font, FONT.com. So have a look at dyslexiefont.com.
So it's dyslexia spelt without the dyslexia.
We're just confuse you.
Just to make it really easy for dyslexics to get to.
And the publisher here is a little one called Lexie Mouse, which is LEXIE Mouse Design. So lexiemousedesign.co.uk. So have a look at that and see what you think. So I think you should find the font that you could download on those.
Yeah, you've convinced me.
Yeah.
You've convinced me.
Would you like to talk to the illustrator?
I will.
Should we have some music first?
We should have some. Tell you what, she's good at this, isn't she? This is all of a sudden turned into a different show altogether. I'll tell you what, you introduce something.
Right, I've chosen the next track.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
She sneaked in.
Me by asking me to choose a track and hadn't even thought about it. Right, I've chosen Tiny Temper, a song called Written in the Stars, and there's actually a reference in this song, if you listen really closely, to Mallory Blackman, whose work I'm very fond of. Okay,
let's go for it. Yeah, here we go. It's been great talking to you. And then we're going to talk to an author in a minute, or an illustrator. Okay. Bit of punk. Hey, this is good, this people. We're just talking now because just going to speak to someone in a minute and just finding out what music she wants playing throughout during the interview, because we're going to break in the interview and play some music. I've got Bewitched coming up by Peggy Lee, and she wants a I love Public Image. Which one do you know? Is it any particular one? No, it's all right.
Anyone will do.
We'll sort that out in a minute, right? Okay. We'll sort that. We're winging this, people. This is live radio. This is what it's about. It's not recorded. Nothing's edited out. It's as you see it. Well, you don't see it because it's radio. And it's brilliant. And we're talking all about books today and fonts, which is marvellous for radio because you can't see any of it. But I'm posting stuff on Facebook and it'll be on Twitter and it'll be on Instagram and all the other grams you can pour it on as well. So, good morning.
Good morning.
Do you want to introduce yourself for people listening?
Yeah, I'm Rebecca Morton,
Yeah.
and I have co-written some books called Muriel's Murals with a fabulous author called Dean Wilkinson, who's written all sorts of things for Ant and Dec, and he's a scriptwriter. I've illustrated the books, and it's they're very magical and perfect for Halloween.
Well, I've actually, like I said, I'm dyslexic as well. So books don't, if I find, we've told before, so for people listening, sorry if I repeat myself. So for me, books have to be not, I don't like fiction personally because I need to be getting something out of the experience that I'm putting in. So I tend to read a lot of technical books rather than, but anyway, we've had a quick look at the font and I think it's wonderful. Do you want to talk us through it, how it's evolved and why you've done it, how it's got to this point?
Well, we've had our books published with Lexie Font, and it's just amazing because it's a groundbreaking font. It's brand new. It's been adopted by, the only other author at the moment that's adopted it is do you remember Henry Winkler?
Hey,
the Fonds?
Hey, of course I do.
Yeah. He's had his Hank Zipster books published in this. And because he's dyslexic himself,
Yeah. There's a lot of talented people, creative artists, singers are dyslexics. And I want them all to come out of the dyslexic closet. But anyway, carry on.
And Muriel, our book, has been published in this. The font is absolutely fascinating, really, because it's designed to help dyslexic readers and people who find it difficult to read, children, adults. And it's perfectly legible, perfectly fine. It doesn't look much different from an ordinary font.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that it's going to bring children in class together to read a book together, whatever their reading ability is. The thing about the font is it's a blue font set on a cream background.
Yeah.
It's the way it's spaced and the way it's weighted and the way it's angled doesn't make the font jump off the page like it does for some dyslexic readers.
Yeah.
And it's had lots of studies all over the world. The next British study is going to be at Reading University in the new year.
Yeah.
And it's just brilliant. I feel so honoured to have my first book actually published in this.
It's really good, and then I repeat myself again that I was saying before, but it's important because I know people have only just joined and what have you. That I researched when I was 44, found out I was dyslexic, went to university, did a master's degree, and I've looked at it more and more. And that one of the issues you've got is our language and our type font is very straight, and on a white background, the black and the white causes like rivers of white, very confusing for the mind and the brain. Whereas when you put it on whatever the colour is, you just take that glare away. And I've had a look at the font, and I've instantly looked at it and gone, I like that.
Yeah.
It's very pleasing. It flows. It's drawing my eye to where I need to be. I think it's wonderful. I think it's really wonderful. I'm going to look more and more into it.
I think there's a lot of latent diagnosis of dyslexia. I think we can all remember when we were kids having to read out in class and things sort of jumping in front of you, and this just eases. It's easier on the eye. You don't have to wear special glasses. You don't have to put a filter across the page.
Yeah,
it's easier. I mean, it was invented by Dr. Christian Boer, he's based in Amsterdam, and he's dyslexic himself. He's a graphic designer, and he took it on himself to design a font that was going to be easier for him to use. And it's just gone absolutely mental all in Holland and the States, and now over here it's going to really change things. Well, we hope it's going to change things, and even companies. I mean, we talk about children having dyslexia, but adults, obviously, in discovering quite late enough as well that you're dyslexic. So companies as big as, Google and Pixar are picking up on this and using that for their employees because it's being recognised more and more. And with my books, I've asked people to do reviews on it with their children, but also parents who suffer from dyslexia reading to their children.
Yes,
is another thing.
Yeah, definitely, because I know trying to read to my eldest lad a few years ago, and it was when all the Harry Potter books came out, and I really struggle with it, because if I don't read the Harry Potter books, they're really complex words. It's and my brain was I could only read a page and I was done. But you're right. So to get something that's easy to read for an adult as well, because there's a lot of people undiagnosed as being dyslexic, and everyone between very mild to very severe dyslexia, and especially for people of my age that have gone through school. I left school in the early 80s, so people that are at school sort of after that and currently, there's more chance of them getting picked up for dyslexia, but even so I still think there's a lack of understanding by the education, especially by teachers. So but for my sort of generation it's even worse. So there'll be adults now or grandparents that should be or could be reading to their children or grandchildren who will shy away from it because they struggle with it. So anything that can help that I think is a really good thing, and I think that people really do need to go and check the font out. I'm not here trying to sell it to anyone. I just want to, if there's anything that helps dyslexics, that's why I'm wearing this daft t-shirt, by the way. People can't see me on the radio, but anything that helps is brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, you can look at the Dyslexie Font, Dr. Christian's website, which is dyslexiefont.com, and you can read up about him. He's done lectures all over the world, and it's actually downloadable as well. So it's brilliant. Yes. And then all sorts of products are going to be coming out in it. Nice. So it's really exciting.
It's really cool. I'll tell you what we'll do now. Let's play a song, and then we'll have another chat in a minute. And this, you can introduce it. It's here.
Okay.
So I'm playing this one because that's what you asked for.
Yeah. We're going to have a Public Image playing.
Yeah, and the song is Public Image.
Yep.
So a bit of punk. I love this.
Great.
Don't hear this on every station, do you? Oh, turn up, people. Turn it to 11. Hey, how's that, people? That's a great song, isn't it? You don't hear that every day, do you? And just my kind of era. Public Image. And I was saying, do you want to...
No, you were right. Brilliant.
What I said when she selected that, say your name again, sorry, because that's my dyslexia. Rebecca. Whatever. Right, okay, because that's my thing with dyslexia is names. I'm absolutely abysmal with names. Terrible. Right, so when Rebecca selected Public Image, and I thought, oh, that's beautiful, because what it means is, to me, that said a message to me was the public image of being dyslexic is you're not as clever as everybody else, you're thick, you're stupid. And we just had a discussion about people being put into, a good friend of mine, I won't mention his name, but things that happened to him in his last year of school. And so the public image of a dyslexic is not good. And I think it's great that you choose a punk rock band and that song. So yeah, brilliant. So there's a reason for that. Why did you pick that song? Tell me what your reason. That was my reason. I'd picked it. Yeah. What was your reason?
Well, it's more about how the story of Muriel came about.
Okay.
How it all happened.
Right.
So what happened was I'm actually a professional mural artist, and I paint lots and lots of murals in schools.
Yeah.
And actually, I noticed a lot of dyslexic kids when I do work at schools, because I've worked in hundreds of schools now, and when I'm painting, often in libraries, sometimes there's a little table set aside for children that are taken out of class to read separately with a teacher. And I always thought how sad that was, and it's funny how life goes round in circles and one thing leads to another. But anyway, whilst I'm painting this mural, and one particular mural I was painting was, I get asked to paint a lot of animals, and I was painting this huge gym, and I was asked to paint jungle animals, and I needed scaffolding. It was massive. And I found that every time I painted an animal, they seemed to come to life when I put a little spot of light in their eyes. And I thought, there's a story coming from this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you got that.
I invented this character called Muriel, who is what we call a kitsch witch, and she paints murals that come to life in schools. And she has a little helper called Dali, who's a purple anteater, because Salvador Dali actually had an anteater, pet anteater. He used to walk around Paris.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Hey, you learn something every day, don't you? That'll come up in a pub quiz that on Friday, people. When you're in your local boozer, be like, what did Dali... I like that.
You just need to Google that, and you'll find a photograph of Dali walking this anteater on a lead around Paris. It's brilliant. It's always intrigued me.
How bizarre.
Well, anyway, I had this character in my head, and then all the mural characters, and I thought, I'm not a writer. I've written up all these characters, but I don't know what to do with them. Anyway, I did a mural with some children at school, and I do like a lot of cartoon murals, and children colour them in, and it's like a workshop that they do together. So it's a completely non-competitive workshop. So children with any ability can paint a mural together, and it looks fabulous at the end. And I put one of my finished artworks on Facebook, and my husband shared it, and this guy got in contact. He said, "Oh God, it looks just like a Public Image Limited album cover, the greatest hits." And I sort of Googled it. Thought, brilliant, that's fantastic. And I love punk as well.
Yeah, I do.
And I thought, great, I can do this with teenagers. I can do this with adults. This thing. And then I said to my husband, who is this guy, this Dean Wilkinson? And he said, oh, he's a TV script writer, and he's written for Ant and Dec, and he's done this and that. And I cheekily, didn't tell anyone, contacted him about my idea. And I was expecting him to get back to me and say, yeah, everyone's got an idea about a kid's book, you know.
Yeah.
And he got back to me and said, this is fabulous.
Yeah.
Let's write it together, and you can illustrate, because I've always wanted to illustrate kids' books. And so he took my characters, and he wrote a plot. And they're funny and spooky and everything. And then from them, we got a publishing deal immediately with Lexie Font, which is just a triple bonus. It's just
wow, it's all fell together, hasn't it?
Fabulous, yeah. And it sort of relates back to the days where I'm watching kids taken out of class to do separate classes, and I just think it's helping everyone. It's just a sort of really, really good feeling.
Yeah, I love it, and I'm glad. I'm really glad. I was just going to do when I got asked to come along, it was to interview you for my show, and then put it as recorded content. And I said, well, why don't we do a show? So that's why we're doing a show, a live show from the bookshop. No, it's been great, and I'm really. I was saying before, books are not my first go-to for anything, but I'm actually talking to you and being here today. I'm thinking, yes, I want to investigate this a bit more, because I think it's got a lot of interest for me, and I think for other people. So if it's interesting me to think about books and looking at fonts, then it's got interest of other people like me. And I think it's really great. It's a really good book, and obviously I'll put some stuff on Facebook about it as well. But I think it's great what you've done. Really, really do.
Fabulous.
Really do. Should we have another song?
Yeah, sounds great.
So I'll tell you what we've got left. We've got half an hour left, so we can talk. Do you want to talk a bit more after this, and then you can play your last song?
Okay.
So you're into a bit of punk. So why don't we stick on the punk theme, and we'll have the Buzzcocks, Ever Fallen in Love.
Sounds brilliant to me.
So it's turned into a punk show. You don't really put punk rock and a bookstore together, do you? But you don't do it, do you? But dyslexics, we don't care. We put everything together. So talking to Rebecca, author, writer, illustrator is the word of the book. Anyway, there's an event on today, isn't it? Tell everybody about the event.
It's at Kenilworth Book Shop, and I've drawn Muriel and her creatures on the window, and anyone, children, adults alike, can come along and fill the characters in. Right on the front window of Kenilworth Books, and the books are here. The first editions are here, ready for people to purchase if they want to, or just have a look and look at the font. It's all it's getting quite a crowd already.
Yeah,
artists at the window.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm going to have to do some video later, or some photographs of what's going on, because obviously it's not very good for radio, is it? But it doesn't matter. I'll get some really good feedback from people that are listening. Mm-hmm. Rob Black's in Australia, and he's like, "Oh, this is really good show." So, the characters then, because we had a bit of a chat about characters. So, tell us about some of the characters in the book.
Well, I'm working with an author who's got a fantastic sense of humour, and we're kind of marriage made in heaven, really, with our imagination. It's quite mischievous. Well, Muriel, the main character, I don't know who she's based on, but she's a mural artist. she's a what we call a kitsch witch. She listens to punk music. She wears white overalls.
I have no idea it could be, but carry on. Yeah.
She wears white overalls. And DMs, and she rides around on a 70s chopper bike.
Have you got a bike?
I have got one that looks very similar to a chopper bike. Unfortunately, I haven't got an original, but it's got flames on it.
A chopper as in a motorcycle, or a chopper as in
As a bicycle.
I used to have a chopper.
I wanted one.
I used to have one with the gears in the middle.
Yeah. She rides around
They're
on
about
this.
£300 now, I think.
They're more than that. The originals are worth a fortune. Very collectible.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? Anyway, sorry about that. So we don't know who this character is based on, because a lot of characters are based on real life people, aren't they? But you know, when you see our TV programmes, or I'm digressing now, but we're talking about characters.
Yeah.
And you think, where's this person, this writer, they've got a great imagination. And then you go, well, it's based on my uncle, or it's based on this thing. And you go, oh yeah, I can see that. So that's brilliant. So we're sort of starting to establish who Muriel is.
Yeah.
Which, it doesn't take a brain surgery to work out.
Well, yeah. I mean,
But then twisting it away, it's not just you, is it? It's the essence.
No, I mean, Muriel, the whole concept of mural came 15 years of painting murals in homes and schools. And originally I'm a set designer. I still am a set designer. I was getting home from work very late last night.
Right.
Anyway, I've been painting murals for all these years. And I think I said when I was painting the last murals in a school, they seemed to come to life. And this is what I wanted to transpose into a story.
Yeah.
Muriel has a purple talking anteater called Dali who helps her. He's very sarcastic and very sort of dry sense of humour. Yeah. And her murals that she paints are all animals. And we've got 3 monkeys that are Miro, Magritte and Manet. And we've got Jackson the elephant, Jackson Pollock, and he sucks up, when he comes to life, he sucks up paint. Yeah, and splatters them everywhere. So they've all got kind of characters. We've got Munch, he's a toad, and but you know, when you spell Munch, it's Munch, so he actually eats bad creatures. So those are the good creatures. These are the murals that come to life. So it's a bit sort of Night at the Museum. You know, they come to life when no one else is there. They come to life in schools. So Muriel gets called by the head teacher when their school is in chaos. I think schools get very messy, don't they? And kids get blamed for it. But actually, it's not down to children. It's down to all sorts of bad creatures called wazzocks and skeletons.
I like it. I'm loving it already. I'm going to read this book. Go on, that's great.
These creatures they have portals in schools,
right?
These portals are created in sort of quite disgusting areas, like the bottoms of lost property bins and derelict boys' toilets and drains and stuff. So these portals are the portals to pizzazz, and these are where these creatures come from, and they come out their portal and then they get into schools and they sort of mess them up. So they make them dirty or they break things and whatever. And when it gets pretty bad, the head phones Muriel, and she arrives and she paints murals, and the murals come to life and they get rid of these naughty creatures.
Wow.
So
okay. Because the way you've explained it is really good, because I've got this image in my mind of it all, and I don't know if that relates to the images that's in the book. Yeah. So that'd be interesting, won't it? But I can see what you're describing as transferring from paper to some sort of film or video or whatever, and you're probably going to say, "Oh, we're already working on that." It sounds like it would make a fantastic short story or a little. Anyway, it's really good.
That's what we're hoping. I mean, I've worked in TV and film for a long time, and Dean's actually he's won several BAFTAs with his writing. He wrote for Ant and Dec, and I think he wrote Harry. Shark Infested Custard by Harry Hills, and all sorts of things,
Yeah.
teacup stories. And so he's a big kids writer. And I think once I started illustrating Muriel, that again came to life, and she's going to make a fantastic animation sometime. I mean, we've already cast her in the movie. We've already got our actors, imagining our actors.
Well, that's great, and
her.
that's what you should do with anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, what my show is about as well is about encouraging dyslexics to become entrepreneurs, become business owners, and all that. And what you're describing there is you've not just created this; you're already thinking about what's next, and how that will evolve into something else. So you can't just, I'm going to develop this, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, you can do, but the way you do it is you develop something, go, well, actually, this could transfer to that, and we could do that next with it, and we could do that. And I think that's really, really creative of you to do that.
It's great. I mean, I just want to do more and more stories with Dean. It's just brilliant. And I want to, do more and more illustrations. And I think Dean would love to make a musical out of it. And there's all sorts of things. When I first spoke to him, and I said, look, I've got this idea for a book, and he said, oh yes, you can do this. He said, but when you think about writing a book, especially a kids book, you've got to look at it on all different platforms. So it could be a game, it could be an app, it could be a play, it could be a film, and you think, oh, of course, So one thing turns into another, and it's just
it's like everything. It's like radio. This radio show we could be doing a radio show. We could be. I do Facebook Lives. Can't do music on the Facebook Live because it's copyright, but there's no reason why what we're doing now we should have actually filmed it and put it on YouTube and things like that. Not just one platform, and that's what I like to do. But anyway, you're right. You've got to find out where your audience is and give them multiple points of contact with it. And I think it's really good. I'm really, really pleased to have met you and understand why you've done it, how you've done it, and it's great that we understand the characters and in the book. Yeah, it's great. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
It's really funny as well. It's my whole life has been painting and drawing and designing, and I as a since I was a kid, I have always collected kids' books. I'm absolutely fascinated with them, and it's funny how the things that you value in an early life sort of stay with you. And I've got a huge collection of kids' books at home. And I use them for my murals and things. And now I've created my own. I think I remember when I was at school, my parents went to a parents' evening, and one of the teachers I got on really well with said, Becky should write her own books and illustrate them. This was when I was 10, and I never even considered it until it was just a sort of, it was a burning desire, but I thought I was unable to do it, and I couldn't have done it without Dean, but it was like an itch you can't scratch. It had to get out, and it's brilliant, and we're just having so much fun with it.
Yeah, and picking up on that there, young age, there was two things I wanted to do when I was at school, when I was about 11, 12, or maybe a little bit older. One was a DJ, another one was a copper, or a police. What do they call them now? We can't call them policemen. They get all thinking about it, don't they? A police officer. That's what I wanted to be. And I didn't think I'd get into police because I knew my grades weren't going to be right. And I thought, how am I going to become a DJ? So fast forward some 30 odd years later, and I'd start doing radio, and there we go. So it's bizarre, isn't it?
It's great.
That, that back then I envisaged some of the stuff that I'm doing now. It's really, really strange. So if there's people out there and the kids are saying, I want to be this and I want to be that, a lot of the time, I want to be an astronaut and I want to be this sort of thing, but just back them and try and get them involved in it. And that's why it's good that if you've created something where people can absorb and read better or understand it more, etc., which is more acceptable, the old public image, going back to the song again, then that's only got to be a good thing on it. So there you go. Right. It's 20 to 12, so we've only got 20 minutes left. The show's finished. So where can people get hold of you? Where can people get hold of the book? Where can people interact with you? And then we might come back again later, but just in case we don't, let's cover that now.
Well, today, if anyone's around, they can buy the first editions. I'm here to sign them, and that's at Kenilworth Book Shop. The books retail at $9.99 each. They are just full of images. They're really great fun. Another thing I wanted to say is that they're written in such a way that if you want to read them to your children, that's brilliant, because there's loads of sort of adult jokes in there, not rude jokes, just adult jokes. A bit like Shrek, how it makes you smile. So, Also, you can buy the original versions on www.murielsmurals.co.uk, but we do have second editions going into shops. Any good bookshop will be selling them from, I'd say, mid-November.
Right.
These are for younger children. They're for 4 to 7-year-olds, so more picture books with less language. And then hopefully in the new year, we will be bringing out the paperback versions as well. So it's a bit like Winnie the Witch. There's a younger version, and then there's an older version.
That's a really good
older
idea.
Kids. And then we've got 2 stories out at the moment. They're both in schools. The first book is The Adventure of Beaufort Primary, which was the original school that I painted in, and we did a fabulous book launch there. And it was against the original murals, and the kids
wonderful.
actually did a little play. So on the murielsmurals.co.uk website, I've uploaded scripts that Dean's written, and you can download them and do your own little play. And the second book is The Adventure of the Beda Primary, which takes place in Dean's old school. We went up there and did a book launch there. And
I'm just looking for the murals. Right, okay, yeah, go on. Sorry.
But you can look up my my publisher's website, which is www.dyslexiemousepublishing.com, and you'll find out more about that and other books that are being launched very soon. We've already got products going into schools with what a Lexie Mouse have produced, and then they're like sort of flashcards and learning products. But there's quite a few books coming out just before Christmas.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm looking at your website. Is this your Facebook page here now with the mural at the back? Is that you? No. No.
I'll show you.
Right. Okay. I don't want to get the wrong one.
There's Murals on Facebook as well.
Right.
If you type in Murals, you should find it.
Right. I've done it the other way around. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I just want to find it. I just want to dyslexia. It works straight in it. Anyway, what we'll do is I'll play a song. You'll give it me, and then I'll share it with people, and then you can see where it is and what it is, and I would take it from there, can we? Anyway, do you want to introduce this track you wanted?
Yeah, it's Peggy Lee, and it's Bewitched. It's only because Muriel is a kitsch witch.
Kitsch witch, people. Kitsch witch, whatever what kitsch witch is. Yeah. So yeah, we're chatting about the new book and the new font. If you're on my Facebook page, and I'll share it on the Radio Warwickshire page as well, is Lexie Mouse. Go and check that out. That's the publishers, and you want Facebook, not Facebook. Murielsmurals.co.uk. So it's MURIELSMURALS. This needs your font on it so I can read it better. Do you know what I mean? That's the bonkers, isn't it? Change it, people. Change it. It's all running together. Yeah, so go and check them out. Anyway, I think it's been really interesting. Anyway, what else we want to talk about before? Because we've not got much time left. We've got 15 minutes left and the show's ended.
Okay, well, actually, if any schools out there in Warwickshire want to visit from Muriel...
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
She can come and paint you a mural.
Because this will go on Mixcloud. It'll probably repeat it later, but this will be on Mixcloud, so it's not just ended today. So if you're listening to this on Mixcloud, I'm sure you'll put it on your website and it'll be on your website.
I've put some of Becky's murals from other schools.
Yeah.
Pictures on our Facebook page.
Right.
We can have a look at that.
So look at the shops. Is it Kenilworth Books?
Kenilworth Books.
Kenilworth Books. Go and have a look at there.
Because we couldn't fit the last S thing.
Yeah, Ken Books. So get it in there. Go and have a look because come and have a chat. It's great being in a bookshop. All the fear has gone. I need to find a copy of Watership Down. It's my nemesis. I'm either going to burn it or I'm going to put it in a frame in my office. Yeah, because it sends shivers down my spine. We had to read in school, and it made me feel sick reading it. Horrible.
You seen the movie?
Seen the movie, yeah.
The movie's great.
The movie's all right. Lots of blood and gore in it. And that's great. And at the start of the show, I played Bright Eyes by Bart Garfunkel.
Yeah, that always brings a tear to my eyes.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's a sad song. We could do it another song because I think what we'll do, I've only got 15 minutes left. We'll play some music now, let people get on with whatever you're doing, and you get on with what you're doing. We'll take some pictures while I've got some music playing, and then I'll come back and wrap the show up. How's that? Yeah. So have you got a song you want to pick or anything? Or should we just go? Do you want me to select something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll select something. I tell you what, I've not heard this for ages. Got nothing to do with writing or anything, but it is, and I've not heard it for a long time, it's a classic. It is a bit of Rod Stewart. It's not punk rock. It's Rod Stewart, and it's called Sailing.
Fabulous.
Oh, look at this, yeah. A copy of Watership down here, and you know what? I'm going to buy it. I'm not sure if I'm going to burn it. Better not say that's because she's listening. Burn it, or I'm going to put it in a frame in my office because it's my nemesis. We've got 10 minutes to go. We're just going to round up with a last minute interview. I think it's been wonderful today. Thanks for inviting me into the bookshop. And just a quick one out there for listeners, just letting you know this is going to be my last radio show for Radio Warwickshire. I've decided to move on. I've really enjoyed my time with Radio Warwickshire and the support I've had from all the presenters. I've learned lots, and it's come to the point when everyone's life what they have to do, move on and do something else. So don't worry, I'm still around. I'm starting my own radio station, which is Dougie Stone Radio, which will, if you follow me on Twitter and Facebook, please go there. There'll be more information coming soon. Just wanted to put that out there, but thank you very much for everyone that's tuned in today and in the past shows. And I'll talk about it more later. Just wanted to make you aware of that. So anyway, let's round the show off.
Hello, I'm back again.
Oh, she's back again.
I'm back again. Can't keep me away.
I know, she's brilliant.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear you've been leaving Radio Warwickshire. It's been great having you here, and thank you for coming.
No, and I'll come back again as Dougie Stone Radio.
Yeah, brilliant.
Not a problem. Okay. I'll be here again.
Yeah.
And I wanted to come today, like I said to you before, I wanted to come today because I committed to come today, committed to come for the station. It's brilliant content, and as always, the show must go on. So when I've committed to do something, I always do it. So I'm here.
Great.
Yeah.
I came back because I want to talk a bit more about comics and graphic novels.
Yeah.
I think we really undervalue them. I think, we get parents who think that the kids should stop reading comics by now, or that they ought to be reading what they call a proper book. And graphic novels as well. In this country, we really don't value them as much as they do elsewhere. In France, graphic novels of all sorts are absolutely mainstream adult reading. I'm still having to write blogs that say that comics aren't just for kids, whereas over the water, they are, they're exploring historical realism in adult reading in graphic novel form. So we really are way behind. But for the dyslexic reader, or a child who perhaps is, not such a confident reader, graphic novels, there are so many wonderful ones out there that they can actually be a real help and a support. That, for example, my son, when he was 12, went off to secondary school, and they're expected to read the 1818 text of Frankenstein, which it's a wonderful book, but it's not an easy read. It's not the Hammer horror that they're expecting.
No.
It is very much a complex text of its time. It's probably more of a romance with a small r, as in romanticism movement. Now, if you're studying that text and actually you're struggling with the language, then it might be more helpful to get that novel produced in graphic novel form, because then you're going to understand the story, you're going to understand the nuances of it, you're going to understand the drama. And same with Shakespeare, actually. Shakespeare was never intended to be sat in total silence in a class and read from a book. It was intended to be performed.
It's a play, isn't it?
It's a play, exactly. And so to have a graphic novel and to study it from a graphic novel, they're using the original language. It might not be the complete text, but they are using the original 19th century language in the Frankenstein, and also, the Elizabethan language in Shakespeare. And actually it's closer to understanding the drama of what was portrayed on stage, for example, in Shakespeare, to look at it in graphic novel form, where you've got the images, you've got an illustrator's sense of, the unfolding events, rather than, also struggling with the language while also trying to understand what's going on, can be a real trial. And often if you're just reading a graphic novel, so you get the story and then you go back to the text, it can really, really help. And it's also really enjoyable. Graphic novels are amazing. Although the term graphic novel, is not very helpful, because there are some biographies and, all sorts of writing in that form. But, don't dismiss these things as just for younger kids or a lesser version of a book. They're really not. They're an art form in themselves, and they are incredibly important to our culture.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And like I say, I wasn't a big book. I'm not a big book. There's a few books that I have read, but the more I spoke to you today and I spoke to Becky, the more I'm going, actually, this makes sense. And don't dismiss it as, because my wife's always saying, read a book. And I'm like, I don't like reading books. You read books, I don't read books. But she's a real bookworm, don't put them down. So
I think we've got the advantage in our times of, this is a really great age of illustration. I was talking to an illustrator, Jackie Morris, over the weekend, who told me that a parent had come to her and said that, he was dyslexic and struggled to enjoy a book with his kid. But her books, which are beautifully illustrated, enabled him to sit with the child and read, that they could tell the story from the pictures, they could enjoy the pictures together. which is a wonderful thing. And we didn't have as many amazing illustrators when I was a kid. So we're really lucky to be living in this age. There's some fantastic illustration out there to be enjoyed as much as the writing.
Cool. Wonderful. Well, thanks for having me along.
That's a pleasure.
We've got 2 minutes. So
what should we do for 2 minutes?
Well,
should we read a book?
Can boil an egg,
yeah,
something like that. But yeah, I've got 2 minutes, so we can go out. Well, we can talk for the next 2 minutes and just close the show, or we can put a song on. But yeah, we've got a minute and 50 seconds left, so that's it really.
That's it. We can just keep counting down.
We'll just keep counting down. So if people, apart from the book, obviously today, what would you recommend a book that people would go and look out for?
Do you know? I reckon actually that there are some amazing. If you come to the kids section of the book, there are some of the best writing is in children's and young adult. Cressida Cowell's The Wizards of Once, which is an illustrated book. Phoenix by S.F. Said, again, an illustrated book. These are really great books of our times. They're challenging, they're interesting, and they're written, supposedly for kids, but my God, they're the best books in the shop. They really are.
Yeah.
So, have a look. We've got also, I'd recommend The Ghost of Shanghai and Shadow of the Yangtze, Julian Sedgwick's work, which is really interesting, great tangle of Eastern folklore and 1920s history. That's really wonderful. What else have we got that I can see from where I am? Some of the picture books, the kids' picture flats are fantastic. James Mayhew's work, the Ella Bella Ballerina, and Katie, the naughty little girl who goes into the National Gallery and climbs into all the paintings. The illustrations are beautiful. It's really good fun. Just come and enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm playing me jingle now because it was sort of, we might just get it in. So where do people find you now? What's the best thing to go there?
We're in the middle of Kenilworth. We're in Talisman Square. Number 12 Talisman Square, right at the back. So there's loads of car parks all around us. So just pop in when you're passing, have a chat. We've often got biscuits and homemade chocolates.
I noticed that. Like you've got.
No, I'm the baker. It's my fault.
Have you baked them?
I do. I didn't do the jam tarts. They came from Sainsbury's.
I was going to say I'm having them jam tarts.
I do normally do jam tarts, but I forgot them today. So I'm sorry.
Well, thanks for joining us, people. That's about it. So it's been great to be here. 10 seconds left, counting down. So thanks for today. Thanks to Becky. Go and check out those things. That's on Facebook. Please hook up with me online. Until next time, see ya.
Bye.
It's a wrap.
Well done.
The Doggy Stone Show.